All right. G'day, g'day. Welcome back to Collectivitis, podcast where we dissect the disease that is collectivism. My name's Pietro. This is Floyd. How you doing, Floyd?
I'm good. I'm very good. How about yourself?
Busy. So, I mean,
Nice.
I'm gonna give everyone a curtain pull. See behind the scenes to
Oh,
Collectivitis for
nice.
a second here. Um, so our last episode we talked about the Mad Bill failing. Went a little bit like for our standards went viral on YouTube, right? It got
Mm.
upward of 4,000 views, like hundreds of likes and comments and stuff. Much more than we usually get, right? It obviously hit their algorithm and got swept up, and a bunch of people were interested in it and commented, and we got a bunch of subscribers with it too. So with all this new clout that we've got for our
Mm.
standards, relative, you've got to
Yeah, yeah,
consider
yeah, yeah.
relative clout. Um, we've then decided not to do an episode for a month. For the longest period of time, we've not done an episode. We just didn't do an episode. And that was because, well, largely at my end, we're in the process of upgrading our podcast studio, which is code for I'm moving
Ooh.
houses. So
Ah, okay, okay.
I'm moving houses.
Can
There's
says
heaps
there's
of work
something
to be
you can
done.
tell me, mate. Like,
No, no, no. Well, I mean, I will have a new podcast studio officially. It'll just be a different room in a different
yeah,
house, and I actually think I can make it less cluttered and make it more actually like a
nice.
podcast room,
Yeah, yeah,
rather than just the junk that I've got in the background as is.
yeah.
But yes, so that's the reason why we haven't been around. But we're back, and so to the new subscribers, hopefully you find this somewhat as interesting as we our last episode was.
Mm.
Um, Anyway, did I ask how you were? Yeah, you said good, thanks.
Yes.
I forget to ask people in response
Okay.
whether
How
they're
are
okay.
you? How are you? I think I've asked that as well, but let's apart from the moving, how's that?
Yeah,
How's
no,
everything
good,
else?
perfect. Yes,
Okay.
good, good. Let's get started.
Okay.
Um, so,
No one cares about our personal lives, so
well, I mean, I barely care, and I have
yeah.
to live it every day.
Yeah, we don't
No,
want to
I
create the what's that? The relationship the podcasters have, so you think we're your friends.
No, no. Whoever's listening to this, I am not your friend. I am your news source, and I am reliable as a news source, and you can trust me to give you my opinion and my true opinion, and I'm not co-opted or corrupted. But we are not friends. Remember
I,
that.
I like you. Don't get me wrong. Like I like you, but
Are you talking to me or the listener in that case?
I'm talking to the audience.
Okay, because you don't like
Yeah.
me, obviously.
No, fuck off.
Yeah, also, you know how podcast hosts they have like a an amicable relate. We hate each other. Like
Yeah,
that's part of it.
yeah, yeah,
It's an interesting dynamic. The only thing that ties us together is our steadfast belief in liberty and the truth,
yeah,
and that's actually stronger than blood or the law or friendship or anything. You're part of something bigger now, dear listener.
yeah.
Is that you're part
Mm.
of our adherence to liberty
Welcome,
and truth?
welcome to the cult of liberty.
Yes, the cult of liberty. That's a good one. That's a good way to put it. Anyway, cult of liberty. There's been some very non-liberty stuff happening at the moment. The big one that is worth talking about is the just yesterday, Maura Deeming won her defamation case against John Pizzuto. We recall back to 2023, it all started because Moira Deeming was a Liberal Party MP. She here in Victoria. She was against the um, she took a stand against like the trans co-opting of women's spaces, and she took part she organized and took part in this rally from the Let Women Speak group, who felt that women were being silenced on this issue. They wanted women only spaces, bathrooms, toilets, all these horrific bigots wanted no penises in women's toilets, which I think is outrageous, honestly. um and it caused a huge stir, not just because it was, it's one of the favorite topic of the wokies, is the trans victim community, but also because some fascists turned up, some neo-Nazis turned
Yeah,
up and started
yeah,
saluting at the protests and stuff, and turned it into a whole charade.
yeah.
Now, obviously, they weren't part of the Let Women Speak rally because, I mean, if they don't want penises in their change rooms, I really doubt they want Nazi penises. But that's just a hunch.
Yeah.
Uh, But anyway,
And I
the
don't know.
whole
I was always sus on that. I was like, oh, could this be some sort of like someone's just putting these Nazis up there just to make it seem bad. I don't know. This is me, inherent conspiracy theorist.
well, I mean, there's no doubt that if you want to like discredit your opponent's point of view, just send some people in black shirts
Yeah,
doing Nazi salutes now, and you
yeah,
say, well, they're part of they're co-opted by Nazis. Haha, you're on the side of Nazis. That
yeah.
means you're wrong. Um, and I mean, there were like I remember it was very suspicious how all that happened as well.
Yeah, they just kind of rocked up, and it was like there was no kind of resistance to them, and they just started doing their salutes, and it's like, what the hell is this? It's
I think
very
they
weird.
were.
I've never like experienced anything like this before. This is just strange.
I think they were there because there was Antifa was there and like these
Okay,
communist groups were there
Antifa.
to protest against the women's rally. And so the
Yep.
Nazis turned up to be opposition to the commies because obviously it's still World War II and Nazi Germany opposes the Russian communist country. So
And
so
you had the
obviously
good
the Nazis
Social
had to turn up.
Democrats of Australia there as well. So it really was World War Two.
Yeah, well, that's right. And as Italy, I swapped sides about halfway through. I was originally with the Nazis, and I ended up with the Americans, who were also anyway. Point being, all of this erupted and turned into a big shit show last year, and the Liberal Party did not back Moira Deeming in all of this. They accused her of being on the side of Nazis and whatnot, and made some comments to this effect. And she complained, said that it was a shit show, put a defamation case against Pseudo and some of the leadership of the Liberal Party, and she was expelled for that. And anyway, this defamation case has just come to a head, and the verdict has been given that Moira Deeming was correct about everything, and that they defamed her, and that they are pieces of shit. Although that ruling was not officially given, that's not an official ruling. That's just kind of public perception.
Well, I think
Is that
there's what do you call it? There's case law for that, so it's all supported.
they're a piece of shit?
Yeah, well, it's like metaphorical case law over the last like oh god, how many decades?
I don't know. You're telling the story.
Well, I don't know. Just the Liberals have always been pieces of shit. So
Oh, right. I get
yeah, yeah,
you.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
We
forever.
have plenty of examples to support that. So they would just add this one to the another notch on the belt.
What's it called? It's precedent. It's created precedent.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
now
yeah.
they
There we
are.
go.
I
There
mean,
we
we
go.
had all right. I get what you're saying. There's plenty of precedent. This is just added to the
Yeah.
pile of liberal shit. Um, and I mean, all of this is. I mean, it's fun. Because first of all, I think the complete corporate backing of the trans victim group is absurd and ridiculous. And it's very funny when it comes to a head on something like you have to let men into women's bathrooms and completely ignore the reality of men with penises and whatnot. And that being like brought into question. And and there's some joy to be had from watching the Liberal Party collapse upon itself in trying to go against what the majority of their base's values are.
Mm,
Like I
mm,
can't imagine that the majority of the Liberal Party is with Pseudo
yeah.
rather than with Deeming on this particular issue. And the Liberal member base and voter base seems to just be like the most horribly beaten dog of all time. Like
Mm,
everything the Liberal Party, they have to kick and scream to try and get them to do the right thing on. I mean, just last month we're talking about the under 16 social media ban federally, the misinformation, disinformation federally, where all the Liberal Party members are like, "What is going on? What are you doing? Why are you doing the not Liberal Party thing?" Um, and the Liberal Party just continues to either reluctantly in the end do the right thing, or in this case, go to court and lose a defamation case over something so ridiculous. So that's what's been happening. Moira Deeming has won. She's officially now. I mean, she's not allowed in the Liberal Party room. She has been an independent in the upper house, the state upper house, all this time. She's been fairly close with the Libertarian member David Limbrick. We know they've gone together on several votes. There's been questions about whether she could potentially join the party. I don't know if that's actually a good idea. Is she more useful as an
So
ally?
which party is that?
The Libertarian Party, the
Okay.
our party that we're a part of and that we talk about all
Yeah,
the
but
time.
just the context for the audience who we love so
That's
much.
true. We have
Yeah,
these mountains of
yeah,
new subscribers who
yeah.
don't know that we
For
support
the
the
well, we,
Libertarian Party.
we're gonna hit viral again anyway.
So you're right. And treat every episode like we're going viral, despite the fact we'll
Yeah.
get, our usual 30 views on this one. Um, and the I forgot the point that I was making. Uh,
That she might join the
yeah,
Libertarian
right. So she
Party.
was
Yeah,
there was talk about her joining potentially the Libertarian Party, but she did speak after the court proceedings. She's has come out and said that she is keen to rejoin the Liberal Party room should they allow her. So,
yeah,
I mean, I don't know what the libertarian insight into all of that is. I have a couple of I'll let you at it. What are your thoughts on the whole situation?
yeah. I think for me, this just kind of highlights there's exactly that the Liberals are really out of touch, and they kind of seem to be going for this mythical swing voter or something. I don't even know what they're kind of going for or what their strategy is. Hopefully, they have some info to back it up. But yeah, I think this is just an L for the Liberals again, and it just kind of shows that yeah, they're just wandering in the desert with no kind of direction. They're just waiting to die.
Yeah, and it brings up the point of what is the point of the Liberal Party at this
Yeah,
stage? Like looking at it, what is the point? And we'll
yeah,
look at a video in a second of Pseudo uh, talking and his intentions and his read on how things are going since the court case. But their objection is essentially, hey, Labor is not managing this situation well. We would manage it better. So it's a personnel thing. It's not an ideological
yeah,
thing that, hey, we
yeah,
have these different beliefs and therefore that's why they are ruining the country or the state in this case. Whereas our beliefs would be fixing things because we are more, I don't know, free market, capitalist, anti woke, anti whatever, corporate benefits or whatever the fuck. Um, they
small
uh,
business, supposedly.
Yes, or we need to prop up small business, whatever. Their thesis is our people would do those jobs that they're doing in the same way but better, and therefore
Yeah,
we would run the country. And if that's all the Liberal Party is the Labour Party has a point. You understand the Labour Party; they have a set
yeah,
of beliefs, right? They believe that the more you expand government and the more you expand the public service, and the more it encroaches into you have regulation of private areas and capitalism is bad and private industries need to be regulated and the more we can encroach on these, the better off everyone will be. I mean, at least that's what I guess the membership believes. Whether the
yeah,
actual leaders believe that or they're just grasping for power, who knows? Um, but that makes sense, right? Like that makes sense to their worldview.
mm,
It's wrong. It's stupid. It's
yeah,
leading to misery. It will lead to more misery. It's led to misery in every case that it's ever been tried on a massive scale when you take it to its natural end. But it makes sense. Like there's a purpose to the Labour Party existing.
mm,
What's the
yeah,
purpose of the Liberal Party? To be another party that thinks that will fight on some really specific niche issues but broadly also go with everything that they're saying,
yeah,
and then reach for this swing in voters that doesn't exist. Their big read after the 2022 disaster, where they lost to Dan Andrews after he's locked down Victoria for 100,000 years, was that they weren't reaching far enough to the left to win
yeah,
the inner
yeah,
city vote. That was the problem.
yeah,
That was the reason that Dan Andrews won again, is because there's just more lefties, and so
yeah,
the Liberal Party has to adapt. And I mean, that's retarded. Even if that were true, then just stop existing. Like, just give up. If
yeah. Just
everyone's a
go, just
lefty,
acknowledge that there's a uniparty, and just be like, hey, all right, we're with them. We're going to create like we're just going to go into Labor right, and we'll be the ones that every 12 years will take over, and you'll see a more moderate step towards socialism.
what? And that's right. Like, they're currently the nickname for him is Labour Light, and you're right.
Yeah,
Turn Labour Light into Labour Right, and then there actually is room for an economically conservative, economically free market right wing alternative to
mm,
appear because people think you're it, and most
mm,
people don't uninformed enough to care and to update their opinion on these things. They just assume that what was true 50 years ago is true today. And that's what continues. So that's kind of like why it's annoying, because obviously we're libertarians and there's not a lot of libertarians in the Liberal Party, and there's certainly I don't know that for a fact. There may be some libertarians in the Liberal Party. I know there's not a lot of libertarian thought anywhere near leadership, or anywhere near many of the MPs of the Liberal Party. So it's annoying that we have to talk about the Liberal Party. But the truth is we have to, because right now they're the ones in the spot that we have the intention of taking, that we have the intention of representing, right? They're the people who would be most malleable to our ideas are currently co-opted by these people who are horrifically bad on all of our ideas, but pretend to support them.
And I guess it's like what a lot of the, I guess, the more hardcore or like anarchistic libertarians have been talking about with the US election, where it's like eventually, let's be honest, our preferences will flow to Liberal before Labor, each to their own. So it's kind of like, well, they are that lesser of two evils that we eventually will vote for. So at least can they do something to kind of be good?
Yeah, well, and that's it. And they won't. And that's the thing, like kicking and screaming now, they won't. And to further that point, let's have a look at this video by Pasuto. So he has been the most spineless, weak-willed leader of the Liberal Party, trying to co-opt that section of the vote that doesn't exist. His only ray of sunshine of hope is that Jacinta Allen is also pretty bad and doesn't have a great reputation and hasn't been able to continue that sort of Teflon Dan thing of Dan Andrews, but has had to shoulder the burden of all of his problems, such as the debt, such as the cancelling of the Commonwealth Games, such as the fact that the Victorian cost of living and stuff is erupting. So she's had to shoulder that, but doesn't have his same ability to deflect blame and to just lie unabashedly. So that's the one thing that Pasuto's got in his favor. And so he's clinging on to this hope that maybe she's worse and I might get into power. But he's been a dramatic failure, has fallen flat on his face on this occasion as well. And yet he has proclaimed that he will remain the leader. He's not going to step down, which is just absurd. How power hungry and just a piece of shit do you need to be to just call it, man? So anyway, let's watch this video.
Yeah. John Pasuto, he's entering the room there now to address the media.
Two years ago this month, I took on the responsibility of being Victoria's opposition leader and alternative premier. I took on these responsibilities because I believe that Victorians deserve better government, certainly better than the type of government we're getting from Premier Jacinta Allen and her 10-year-old Labor government that has given us the worst roads, poorly performing hospitals, schools that are under-resourced and in dire need of building upgrades, a child protection system that is in crisis, debt that is the highest in the nation and which has made Victoria the fourth most indebted state in the world outside the United States, with debt well over 200% of operating revenues, which is a very worrying state to be in. We have the highest taxes in the country. The Business Council of Australia, only a week ago, cited Victoria as the hardest place to do business on a range of indicators, including tax and red tape. We had Saul Eslake, a respected economist, talk about how Victorians are poorer now after 10 years of Labor. We've had the Auditor General speak about how our debt, in gross terms, is approaching $270 billion in 2.5 years' time. We've had the Housing Industry Association talk about how hard it is to do business. Our unemployment rate is the highest. Our insolvencies are the highest. We need better leadership in Victoria. That's why I have this job. That's why I intend to continue in this role. Now, today's decision by the Federal Court is obviously a very disappointing outcome, but I respect the Court's decision. So I do accept that the Court has delivered this decision, as disappointing as it is. I do wish to emphasise, though, for all Victorians, that I've always been a fighter, and I've always been a fighter for the right reasons and for the right people, the Victorian people. And that's why I will continue in this role, now more than ever, when it is so clear on so many indicators that our state is headed in the wrong direction, that we need leaders who have that fight in them, leaders who will stand up and be accountable and always put the interests of our state first. That's why I will continue in this role. I'll take questions.
John, will you allow Moira Deeming back into the parliamentary party?
Decisions like that, Simon, are not matters for me alone. I've always said over the last nearly 2 years that these have always and always will be matters for the party room. So I don't speak out on those matters ahead of my party.
Okay, that's the crux of it. I'm not still sharing, am I?
No.
Cool. I did that time, and I revealed all the secret plans for the rest of the episode. Well, what did you think of that?
I think his tie was off. He should have fixed up his tie before he went in there. That's one thing I noticed.
That's how in disarray the Liberal Party are.
Yeah,
The one thing they're usually good at is like the surface appearance. Even though everything behind them is rotting and decaying and falling apart, the surface appearance, at least they usually can appear pretty smart. It's falling. It's all coming off at the seams. Even his tie is no good.
But yeah, it was very. I did no wrong, and I'm continuing to support, and I'm going to be better than I am now. And it was just very almost like a gaslight. This isn't about Moira Deeming or what I did. This is about the better person to lead Victoria, and it's like, shut up.
He starts by rattling off all the things that are wrong with the Labor Party and with the state of Victoria. It's like that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that you called one of your party members a Nazi for supporting women's spaces, you fucking psycho. Don't tell me about everything. And so, because obviously he's preempting the fact that, hey, Labor is so bad, you have to have me. You're going to have to have me.
I'm a strong leader.
Yeah, you're like, hey, look at all these things that are wrong. I'd better step in and save it because no one else can. Of course, the things that he points out, the hospitals need more funding. Education is crumbling. Needs more funding. We have all this debt. Well, where the fuck's the funding going to come from, brother? Are you going to privatize any of that? Or because do you have the balls, you who sided with the mainstream media against your own party members on an issue that most of your party members would have sided, like the party membership would have sided with you on, you who did that, are you going to have the balls to say that we need to privatize more of the education industry and more of the healthcare industry? I don't think you are. I don't think you are going to have the balls. I think you're saying that we need to spend more taxpayer money on those things.
High swing voter in the suburbs. You should vote for the Liberals. Here's why. Because, I mean, let's be honest, these people, but who the fuck watches the news anyway? So these probably don't even know what Moira Deeming is, and they're probably not looking at Pseudo anyway. So this is just him kind of up there to dick swing, and it's just very, very hard to watch.
Well, I don't know. I think the Moira Deeming John Pseudo thing has broken into mainstream perception. Like, I go to the gym in the mornings, and when I see Moira Deeming on the TV at the gyms, and they play that there, I think, okay, this must be everywhere, right? Like if they're playing that there, like this is a big deal issue kind of thing. Like they play that alongside with, I don't know, whatever Trump or Biden has done recently. I think, that's pretty mainstream perception stuff. It's on all the newspapers.
Next to what's his name? Who's our prime minister?
Albanese.
Yeah, Albanese. There we go.
If on the staff room, in the staff rooms at work, the newspapers have Moira Deeming on the front pages and stuff. So I think I don't know, but that's my perception. Those are my touch points. I think most people are aware that Moira Deeming is someone, and even if you're just tangentially aware of the news. Anyway, another takeaway of all of this that I wanted to kind of talk about is that if you look at like what is the breakdown, sort of like what is the nuggets of fact that we can take from all this, because there's a lot of smoke show, and it's hey, the Liberals are collapsing and this, that, and the other, and okay, maybe that's interesting, and it's interesting to talk about, and it's interesting to talk about the opportunities of potentially libertarians sweeping up a large percentage of the ex-Liberal vote. But what I think is the broader picture that is interesting to look at is that I think there is a collapsing of sentiment, public sentiment, even media sentiment in favor of woke stuff.
Yes,
Um,
I think so as well.
I think this is an example of it. I think no one's like, I don't think any of the reporting on this has been anti-trans,
Yeah, yeah.
psychopath gets,
Even though she was found, even though she was exonerated and he was found guilty, this still isn't good for the whatever community. Yeah,
I'm saying I didn't see any of
yeah,
like it
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
like
yeah,
this fascist convinces courts to
yeah, yeah,
rule
yeah.
in favor. I didn't
She's
see
still
any.
anti-trans. No,
Yeah,
she's just not a Nazi.
yes, there wasn't any
Yeah,
of that. I didn't see any of that, which is interesting in and of
yeah,
itself.
yeah, yeah.
Whereas I think even just 2 years ago, if we look at the
Mm.
the state of how things were and the whirlwind of information and stuff, I think that's changed. I think there were two parallels that I drew to this to the US, but there's a guy Daniel Penny who just last week
Ah, yes,
was same sort of thing, right? Not same sort of thing, very different sort of thing. But
yes, yes. A
he was
little bit different.
he was acquitted in court. He's an ex-military guy who what's it called? Suppressed, withheld back this schizophrenic guy on a subway who was threatening people and asphyxiated him and killed him trying to defend other people there. And the guy that died was African American. So all of the victimhood of the African Americans getting killed by a white guy stuff came out without, and eventually, like the court did find that the facts of the case were that he was a crazy guy threatening people on a subway, and he was restrained. Restrained is the word I was looking for, and it ended with his unfortunate death. But it's necessary considering that he was threatening violence on other people, and the fact that is a pretty like the woke group there is the fact that there's this inherent racism and white people are just looking to kill blacks and whatnot, and this guy, there were all the stories about this guy being like a closet racist who'd waited like 40 years of his life for this opportunity till he could finally kill a black man and shit like that, which is just absurd. And that's fallen flat, right? Like that fell flat.
Yeah.
The Kyle Rittenhouse, which I know is a couple of years ago itself
Mm.
thing now, like he was acquitted in court because when he was clearly acting in self-defense and there were people with guns and skateboards and a mob who were protesting and burning shit in the US, and he shot two people as they had guns pulled on him and as they were trying to kill him, and he was painted as this anti-black, anti-communist guy who'd gone to shoot up neighborhoods when really he was a kid who had perhaps naively gone to defend neighborhoods where people were protesting. So this stuff, I mean, it seems like the initial whirlwind is, hey, racist, transphobe, whatever. But eventually, as public sentiment does find out the facts, even in courts of law, which we know the law can be subverted and manipulated and whatever, it does eventually come out that the woke thing was wrong. Like the woke point of view or the initial woke narrative was incorrect, and the truth is, that these people are not always the victim group, and the tapestry is whatever varied. So I think there is a bit of a swing back because I don't see how these stories, like I can see how these stories could have ended really badly for all three of those people involved with not that long ago, just based purely on sentiment, read of the political landscape, maybe people in power, whatever.
Who they thought would buy their products.
Yeah, exactly. Even just the fact, like, look at the fact that Trump's re-election has not caused the meltdown that that it did last time. Like last time, it was like, holy shit, we've got literal Hitler
It's
in the White
end.
House. It's the end. It's the end of democracy.
Yeah.
And that's what they shouted and screamed and shouted all through his election. They said, this is the end of democracy. He's going to get in there and we're never going to have elections again. And now that he's elected, everyone knows that was bullshit. Everyone knows we're going to elect some other, piece of shit politician in 4 years' time, unless it's someone cool like Vivek Ramaswamy or something. But, it's all the lie has much less weight to it. The woke point of view, I think, relies on lies. It relies on the ability to lie and then to censor dissenting opinion. I would consider even stuff like the anti vaccine movement of, you know, what is it now, 2, 3 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
That was like all the people who supported forcing mandating vaccines were the same people who support all the woke stuff because the strategy was the same. It's like, hey, this is the thing that is the truth. We telling you it's the truth, and if you disagree, you're not allowed to talk. You're either
Yeah, yeah.
cancelled from your work or cancelled from your social media or cancelled from whatever social environment you'd like to be in. You have an untenable, unallowable opinion, and we can enforce it. And the truth is that they can't anymore. We can talk about things like the fact that there was a black guy being crazy on a subway and threatening people. We can talk about things like there are guys with dicks who think they are women who want to take up women's spaces, and that is threatening to women. We can talk about the fact that the Black Lives Matter protests in the US and the Summer of Love was full of looting and killing and burning and whatever, and they tried to kill a kid for trying to defend it. You know, we can talk about that stuff and not get cancelled where you couldn't in the past.
Yeah, and I think it's also a bit of like an us versus them mentality. And you know, if you don't want to, you know, what is it? I don't know. I'm trying to think of like the be us or join us type of thing, but almost like the I'll get a bit nerdy. The Borg, you know, resistance is futile, and now we've kind of realized, well, actually, resistance isn't futile. We can kind of fight back, and I think we're the Federation, and you guys are the Borg.
That's so true. Is there was this feeling, this real feeling of if I'm going against this, I'm going against not just the majority, but the majority that has the power.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
now it feels like they still have like the remnants of power, and they still have some like avenues of power in media and in you know the Democrats, for example, or the Greens or the Labour Party or certain representatives there. But it feels like we're the majority and actually the worm is turning. Like it's very clear, accuse Donald Trump of anything you want. He's not woke, right? Like he's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
he's
yeah.
not trying to push something false through censorship, or I'm sure there's something that he's trying to do that on, but not the pet
Yeah.
issues that have existed this whole time. Um
And I
anyway,
think as well, it's like they realize because I think a lot of it was just to make money as well. Let's cash in on these people, and they realized, oh, wait a second, you know, people are boycotting stuff because they're saying that I don't know, I don't watch movies and stuff, but they're saying like even like the Marvel movies and stuff are turning, and I've noticed stuff in like video games where that's turning a bit. So obviously they've realized, hey, I think they thought these people there's a larger group of these people than they are. And we're not. We're kind of getting a fallback on this. Let's kind of backpedal, and you know, we're cool now.
yeah. The boycott thing is huge. Like there's been concrete examples of companies that have suffered because they were uninformed about being in the majority, and they like the really famous one was the Bud Light one, and that kind of
Yeah, yeah.
kick-started the feeling of, hey, we can do this. And I think you're right, like video games as well. There's definitely way less woke shit than there has been, and there's lots of big ones that like have been criticized for having for force feeding that down. Because I mean, what is the audience of video games? It's like men aged from like teenage to like 30, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that is like the cull of all woke society? That's
Yeah,
probably the
yeah.
least woke aspect,
Yeah.
like quadrant of society you could have. So it's obviously force fed there. Anyway, I've put the upper limit at 30. I'm sure I'll put it at 35 once I turn over 30 anyway. Because like,
Well, I think it's actually bigger now because you've got people that grew up playing games. Anyway, let's not have the
That's true.
gaming
Yeah,
discussion.
that's
There are better channels for gaming discussion.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Well, that's it. That's the main thing I wanted to talk about. I don't know what'll come of this. I suspect that eventually Pasuto will. I don't think he'll be the opposition leader heading into the next election. I think that'll change because they have to. You know, maybe it's an initial moment of not trying to show weakness on behalf
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
party
yeah.
to not turn down. I think that whoever replaces him will be equally useless. I think, let's say Moira Deeming gets the. I know some people have floated her name up as the potential replacement for Pseudo because she's shown courage in this particular thing. I don't think Moira Deeming is savvy enough on like economics and stuff to actually provide the economic opposition to the Labor Party that needs to happen. She may provide the cultural one at the very least, which right now the Liberals are not doing either. So like right now it's really what is the point of the Liberal Party? That's my read. I reckon they won't be of any use in the near future. So vote Libertarian. Cool. Anything else? Anything I missed?
Yeah, I mean, I forget what it was. There was that drama in the US with that thing that happened, but I forget what it was. But as far as like the more redeeming stuff and the prosciutto stuff, I think it's just a big clusterfuck, and we'll see how it pans out. And as you said, we'll see who's the leader, and if they can actually get a strong leader, or if he's just going to kind of assert himself and be like, "Look at me, I'm the sickest aunt in the world."
Yeah, I don't know. I find him cringe. I don't find him to be the strong leader. I
want to get some toilet paper for his chin. I shouldn't say that, but
some toilet paper for his chin. Why?
Yeah, to wipe that ass on his chin.
Hey, I've got a bum chin here as well. You can't.
I'll get some toilet paper for you, bro. I know that's a horrible thing to say. It's a horrible thing to say, but
yeah, you've alienated a whole fragment of our new subscribers and viewers.
Can I say I'm sorry, guys. You know I love you, but yeah.
Lucky I represent them, so they can continue watching.
Yeah. See, representation. It's a good thing.
Anyway, we're not friends with them anyway. We know we're not. We've just discussed.
We're not friends anyway as well. So
yes,
screw you.
You're watching us for truth and the Liberty Cult, not for French. So get over it. Wipe your bum chin, you loser. Anyway. All right. Thanks for watching. If you like the show, you can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, X, and what have I forgotten?
Spotify.
X and Spotify, and Apple Podcasts as well. We will catch you next time.
So yeah.